Galactic date 71104.3. Location Core Diplomatic Spire, Citadel Prime. The Galactic Council had long grown accustomed to Earth's absence. At first, their absence was seen as arrogance. Then, it became protocol. Eventually, it became something worse, irrelevant. 50 years. 50 full galactic cycles of peace summits, military negotiations, and trade restructures, all without a single representative from Earth. Not a message. Not even a redirection ping. Earth hadn't declared war. Earth hadn't signed treaties. Earth hadn't said anything. And now, as the latest summit convened under the pale golden glow of the Citadel's artificial sun, Earth's absence was just another empty chair. Councillor Threx of the Varn Dominion bared his 6 needle-like teeth in amusement. "Shall we skip Earth's invitation and proceed?" Again? Murmurs rippled through the chamber. No one objected. They never did. But that day, something felt different. And none of them would realize why until it was too late. A history of vanishing. When humanity had joined the Galactic Council 87 cycles ago, they'd done so reluctantly. They were newcomers, strange in both biology and behavior, emotional yet pragmatic, passionate yet cold in crisis. Their technologies were crude but intuitive, often unpredictable. Their fleet, while small, had been efficient. Then came the Silence Protocol. Following the collapse of Arcos 7, a diplomatic failure that cost the lives of over 200 Terran envoys, Earth withdrew completely. Officially, it was a strategic pause. Unofficially? They ghosted the galaxy. The Council sent envoys, probes, even economic sanctions. Earth remained unresponsive. Silent. Until now. Early sensor glitches. It began with minor anomalies on the edge of the Orion Belt. Station Theta 6 picked up gravitational ripples that didn't match any known warp signatures. Mining vessels along the terminus line lost contact for exactly 3.6 seconds, simultaneously. Refraction lensing from deep space observation satellites reported shadow blooms, the kind created by massive bodies moving in unison. Still, no one panicked. Ships vanish all the time in deep space. Instruments glitch. Old comms arrays stutter. But then came the red alert from Station Vero Prime, just outside Earth's last known territory. They reported 1,000 distinct FDL shadows. Moving in formation. All unregistered. All Terran. The message ended with one last transmission. "They're not answering hails. They're just coming." Panic in the Council. By the time the Council reconvened in emergency session, the 1,000 unknowns had already crossed into neutral space. They hadn't fired. Hadn't scanned. Hadn't even pinged. Just moved. Effortlessly. Relentlessly. "Are we under attack?" barked General Sevix of the Kellner League. "Perhaps they seek only attention," offered Diplomat Anair Shura of the Zolii Mindkin, her voice vibrating with false calm. "They had 50 years to seek attention," spat Threx. "They could have answered any of the Council's calls." That was the moment the message arrived. Not a broadcast. Not an open channel. But a hardline pulse, directed through old, defunct Earth comms satellites, tech assumed long abandoned. The message had no voice. No words. Just a set of coordinates, geosynchronous orbit over Citadel Prime. They arrived without ceremony. 6 hours later, every sensor array on Citadel Prime froze. No incoming FDL readings. No warp distortion. No approach vectors. Just presence. Suddenly, they were there. Above the Citadel. 1,000 Terran warships. Perfectly spaced. Dark hulled. Motionless. They cast shadows over entire continents. Blocked Starlink traffic. Interrupted planetary comm grids. And still, no message. No declaration. Not even a demand. Just that impossible, unignorable silence. It wasn't a fleet. It was a judgment. The ships themselves. They didn't match any known Terran designs. Angular. Sleek. Built not for beauty or intimidation, but efficiency of intent. Each hull was marked not with flags, but names. Some in Terran script. Martyr's Grace, The Forgotten Oath, Echo 6, Never Again. Some bore nothing but dates. Some bore coordinates. And every one of them had the same core design flaw. No visible weapons. No turrets. No missile bays. No heat ports. Just hulls. Which meant only one thing to any experienced tactician. They've evolved past visible weapons. World reaction. The galactic public didn't learn right away. The Council tried to suppress the event, labeling it a Terran diplomatic maneuver, while scrambling to make contact behind closed doors. But the optics were impossible to hide. 1,000 unidentified ships over the galaxy's political capital? It took 38 minutes for a leaked photo to circle every planetary net. Terror swept across colonies. Markets collapsed. Several military factions began partial mobilizations. Even the Kellner's paranoid sky marshals initiated nuclear lockdown protocols, not for war, but for surrender contingencies. Because no one understood why Earth was here. And worse, no one knew what Earth wanted. A voice at last. After 12 hours of absolute silence, a single signal finally broke through every planetary firewall, every interference field. It hijacked civilian feeds, tactical comms, and even neural implants. Every being, across thousands of systems, heard the same thing. You called. You mocked our silence. You debated in our absence. Now we answer. We are not here to ask. We are here to remind. And then, silence again. No demands. No ultimatums. Just presence. Just wait. Just the cold shadow of Earth's unfinished business. Captain Sarah's of the Viral Patrol log, declassified. I flew near one of the Terran ships, closer than I should have. It didn't react. But I swear, I felt something watching me. Not from a sensor. From the ship itself. Like it was alive. Or worse, like it was bored. I turned back. I didn't wait for clearance. I just left. Meanwhile on Earth. No parades. No announcements. No fanfare. Earth's skies remained quiet. Its people lived their lives. No one on the surface spoke about the 1,000 ships now parked in orbit around Citadel Prime. As if they didn't matter. Or as if they weren't there for the galaxy to understand. But for Earth to finally be understood. H. Galactic date, 71,104.4 to 14 hours after arrival. Location, orbit above Citadel Prime. The 1,000 Terran warships didn't move. Not a single vessel adjusted course, powered a thruster, or made any attempt to initiate communication. They simply loomed, immense, watchful, and absolutely indifferent to the panic they'd caused below. Inside the Citadel spire, fear no longer whispered. It screamed. Even the seasoned diplomats of the Zolii Mindkin, long masters of emotional suppression, were struggling to suppress tremors in their neural glow fields. The air in the chamber buzzed with a shared, inescapable truth. They don't want something. They're proving something. But proving what, none of them could answer. Because humanity had not issued a demand. They had simply arrived. Council session, Emergency Protocol Gamma 7. High Chancellor Drell of the Unified Kareen Confederacy was the first to speak. Her normally measured tones cracked with static distortion. We must attempt contact again. Formal channel, Council frequency. The Varn Dominion representative hissed. They ignored 90 years of formal contact. They're not answering now. Councillor Threx slammed a bony appendage against the stone table. This is coercion through presence. We should respond with equal strength. Equal? Scoffed Admiral Kintar of the Loratian Guard. You want to float a few destroyers beside that? That's not a fleet, it's an extinction-level statement. Arguments erupted. Diplomats bickered. Military officials shouted. The Mindkin retreated inward, attempting a mass mind link to calculate survival probabilities. None of their outcomes were favorable. In the center of it all, The chair marked Terran Union, long vacant, remained undisturbed. Until now. The chair that moved. At exactly 15:07 Universal Standard Time, the Terran seat pulled itself back from the table. It did not do so mechanically. No visible hand touched it. No command was given. It simply slid outward. Softly. With weight. The room went silent. All eyes locked on the empty chair. And then, one moment later, a small metallic sphere rolled onto the table from nowhere. It was matte black, the size of a closed fist. It pulsed with blue light once. And then it spoke in Terran Standard. "We are not interested in apology. We are not here for reparations. We are here because you forgot. Now you will remember." The sphere dissolved to ash. No further message followed. But the meaning couldn't be clearer. Earth wasn't requesting dialogue. Earth was correcting memory. Orbital broadcast blackout. In the hours that followed, every major news agency in the galaxy attempted to go live with footage of the Terran fleet. And one by one, their broadcasts failed. Not because of hacking. Not because of interference. But because Earth didn't allow it. Each time a drone launched to capture footage, it returned blank. Not wiped, just blinded, as if the space around the ships refused to be seen. One report leaked from an independent vessel. "Our ship's cameras didn't fail. Our minds did. We looked at the fleet, and our brains couldn't hold it. We forgot what we saw seconds later." Some of us screamed. Some laughed. One crewman hasn't spoken since. He keeps drawing spoons. Ship design analysis. Forbidden knowledge. The Laurasian military secretly commissioned a scan of one of the Terran warships, violating 3 Council treaties to do so. The data returned garbled. Distorted. Yet a handful of metrics could be read. Power output, off the charts. Hull temperature, absolute 0. Signal emissions, reversed. Reversed? One analyst asked. The engineer nodded. "They're not sending signals. They're absorbing them. Like the ships are listening to the universe breathe." And then came the most disturbing find. There were no crew aboard. No biosignatures. No AI clusters. No life support systems. The ships were empty. Yet they had come. The message beneath the message. Humanity had not come to bargain. They had not come to threaten. They had not even come to be seen. They had come to remind the galaxy what Earth truly was. Not a forgotten world. Not an eccentric former member. But a sleeping apex. An observer. A civilization that had not vanished, merely grown quiet. And then, outgrown the galaxy itself. And the 1,000 ships in orbit? They were not war machines. They were monuments. Gravestones. Each one bearing a name or coordinate of a Terran event the galaxy had refused to remember. Now Earth was forcing remembrance. Civil unrest on Citadel Prime. Within 24 hours, protests erupted planet-wide. Some demanded evacuation. Some begged Earth to speak. Others knelt in parks and plazas, lighting candles for what they believed was the end of days. Religious sects formed overnight. The children of the quiet flame preached that Earth had become divine. They did not evolve, they ascended. And now they returned to judge. A single preacher was recorded shouting in tears, "The sky is full of humanity's silence, and silence is the sound of power." Earth's final signal that day. Just before midnight, one final signal was transmitted from the fleet. This time, it came on an open band. Anyone could hear it. A calm, synthetic voice said, "This orbit will remain occupied. No action is required. No resistance is advised. Let memory return. Let order be restored. Earth does not ask permission. Earth does not seek approval. Earth has returned." And then, nothing. No visual. No music. No threats. Just the truth. Citadel Prime, Council Archives, 3 days after arrival. A dozen archivists worked in silence. Below the Citadel's polished spires and golden halls, a different kind of storm was building. The Council had quietly initiated Project Reclamation, scouring its own suppressed records for anything related to humanity's ancient offenses, anomalies, or unrecorded grievances. What they found was horrifying. Whole pages redacted by unknown authorizations. Event logs missing entire timelines. Files labeled obsolete threat bearing Terran dates but no explanations. Archivist Allen, an 800-cycle veteran of the Historical Corps, whispered to his assistant. "They didn't leave because they were insulted. They left because we erased what they became." And now, it seemed, Earth was here to reintroduce themselves. Not as diplomats. Not as allies. But as the final authors of a galactic memory. Lost incidents, the 10 things that were never supposed to surface. Pulled from recovered Council files, now decrypted under Emergency Transparency Act R77. The Red Harvest Protocols. Earth resolved a planetary war in a single night by deploying psychological interference drones that made both sides believe they'd already surrendered. No casualties. Council classified the tech as existentially unfair. The Darrow collapse. Earth destabilized a planet-wide dictatorship, not with force, but by seeding its economy with a harmless synthetic currency. The regime folded in 28 days. The Quiet Reef Incident. A fleet of Terran ships silenced an artificial intelligence uprising. The machines didn't explode, they simply stopped. Council technicians later reported every AI node had its own name rewritten to silence. The Ion Veil Riddle. Earth built a communications field over 5 systems that reversed all outgoing transmissions, effectively muting them to the galaxy. It was never deactivated. The culling of Broken Sky. A rogue colony began modifying dark matter. Earth arrived, spoke 5 words, and the colony voluntarily dismantled its reactors and vanished. Project Echo Veil. Earth experimented with pre-time denial fields. Council deemed it unlawful manipulation of reality. But Earth refused to acknowledge the accusation, and the project was never located again. Whispers of the Orion Breach. A Council listening post received human voices from a region of space where light hasn't yet reached. The voices were in past tense, describing future Council events. Tarkin Disappearance. A system of 9 moons and 5 mining colonies collapsed into radio silence. When Council scouts arrived, the only sign of life was a floating banner. "This is why we listen." E-Class Operator Doctrine. Rejected publicly. But internal memos confirm Earth once trained single individuals capable of ending civilizations using only information and language. The vanishing of the Arks. 8 colony ships sent by Earth disappeared into deep space. No wreckage ever found. Some believe they became the ships now floating above Citadel Prime. The Council fractures. Panic became policy. The Kelmer League pulled its ambassadors back to homeworlds. The Varn Dominion activated. Defensive silence. No further transmissions to Earth or its ships. The Loratian Guard began secret deployment of its cloaked fleet to outer perimeters. The Zolii Mindkin retreated to telepathic conclaves, their neural webs buzzing with existential horror. Counselor Drell tried to maintain unity. Earth has not fired. Earth has not invaded. We still have time to understand. But no one wanted to wait. Because the real fear wasn't that Earth had come to conquer. It was that Earth had outgrown the galaxy, and no longer needed it. Planetary reactions. On outer colonies, chaos. Riots broke out in stations once protected by Earth's old peacekeeping forces. Statues once toppled in protest of Terran arrogance were now being restored. Black market sales of old Terran tech surged, especially items bearing the symbol of the now-defunct UN Solar Vanguard. On core worlds, fear shaped religion. A new cult spread like wildfire, the Returners, preaching that Earth had become divine through isolation, and their ships were not vessels, but cathedral ships of reckoning. A single phrase echoed in their chants. "The ones who stopped speaking have returned to be heard." A council plea. 3 days after the fleet's arrival, the council finally sent an open signal. They chose not to beg. Not to threaten. But to simply ask. The message was brief. "We acknowledge our failure to listen. We recognize your presence. We invite dialogue. The reply came 2 minutes later, from all 1,000 Terran warships simultaneously. The same phrase echoed across every band. Acknowledgement is not remembrance. When memory is whole, dialogue may begin. Back on Earth, the planet looked unchanged. From orbit, Earth was still blue oceans and scattered clouds. But closer observation revealed anomalies. Massive underground pulse signatures, beyond any known planetary tech. Orbital defense grids that shimmered in spectrums the Council couldn't decipher. Surface cities dimmed at night, not from power loss, but from intent. Someone, or something, was dimming Earth's visibility on purpose. And at the poles, 2 monoliths had appeared. Ancient. Towering. One etched with Genesis. The other with Reminder. Still, Earth offered no message. Because the message wasn't the planet. It was already in orbit. Final memory recovered, the apology protocol. A final, nearly destroyed data crystal surfaced from a Council vault deep in Keltarn. It was encoded in pre-Terran syntax, dated over 3,000 cycles ago. The message was simple. It came from a Terran envoy. A warning. Or maybe, a promise. If you forget us, we will not punish you. We will simply return. Not to make war. Not to make peace. But to remind you of the cost of forgetting humanity. We do not need you. But you needed us. Galactic date, 71,104.9, orbit above Citadel Prime. It happened at exactly midnight. The 1,000 Terran warships, which had remained utterly motionless for nearly a week, all shifted simultaneously. No thrusters. No warning. No FTL jump. They simply reoriented, like a solar system pivoting around an unseen gravity well. Their collective movement formed a vast geometric array, a symbol impossible to interpret from the planet below, but visible in full only to deep-orbit observers. A shape not of mathematics, but of message. Within hours, linguists across 10 civilizations confirmed it. A Terran memory glyph. Its translation? We do not forget. And then, without another word, the entire fleet vanished. Vanished, not jumped. No hyperspace distortion. No gravity wake. No drive trails. The ships didn't leap away, they ceased to exist within known space. One observer on the Outer Ring military platform described it best. It was like the void finally took a breath. For nearly 10 minutes afterward, every long-range communications channel across the galaxy went completely silent. Not jammed. Not disrupted. Just quiet. As if space itself was holding its breath. What Earth left behind. In the upper stratosphere above Citadel Prime, a single satellite now orbits. It's not powered. Not transmitting. But it spins gently, and its hull bears a single, perfectly etched phrase. Memory restored. Inside the council chamber, no one spoke for 3 full hours. Councillor Threx, once the most vocal skeptic of Earth, submitted his resignation and retreated to his homeworld. He left behind only a single sentence in his formal statement. We never understood what Earth was. Only what they allowed us to see. Every world feels the shift. Across the galaxy. The Kellner League suspended all naval operations within Terran perimeter sectors. The Varn Dominion began reverse engineering their own diplomatic archives, terrified of what else might be buried. Outer colonies renamed their defensive outposts with quiet reverence. Rourke's Reach. Silent Flame. Memory's Gate. On Vero Prime, the Council Tower now has a permanent inscription at its base. We remembered too late. No one dared send another message toward Earth. Not because they feared retaliation, but because they finally understood. Earth wasn't silent. They were finished speaking. Earth status in Council records, classified addendum. Terran status, active. Council seat, permanently reserved. Diplomatic condition, observing. Threat designation, not applicable. Engagement protocol, do not engage. Do not contact. Do not interfere. Final note. If they return, stand down. It means they have not forgotten you. The final file, discovered in an archive that shouldn't exist. An old Terran diplomat's journal, once thought erased, recovered during the reclamation campaign. The entry was short. Handwritten. Its ink faded, but the message burned with clarity. One day they'll ask why we left. Then why we came back. The truth is simple. We were never gone. We were waiting for them to remember who we were. And what we are capable of when ignored. Milky Way The Void Narratives. Subscribe now, Milky Way. You've just witnessed the return of a power too vast for negotiation and too patient for war. This wasn't vengeance. It wasn't conquest. It was a reminder, one that echoed through the stars without firing a single shot. Backhand index pointing right if you crave more stories where silence speaks louder than fleets, where forgotten legends rise from the dark, and where humanity rewrites the rules of the galaxy, then you belong here. Satellite, subscribe to the Void Narratives. Because the next time Earth shows up, the galaxy won't get a second chance to understand them.